There's foreground and background, it works. So it looks like an atrocity at the moment. They would all sort of animate in this general direction. Coins are in the game. Here they are. So you might be able to see that when I trigger them, they kind of appear up here and then come back to the middle. They should appear on top. Yes, they do. See, that looks really nice. I like how that looks. No, I think that looks way better. I've been banging away at this for a long, long time. See, it's definitely closer. Actually, I think that's working. That actually genuinely feels like it's working. Oh, it looks so good! Hello! Welcome to the first devlog for the voxel RPG game. I've decided that I'm going to try and do some videos sat at a desk this time, so should be fun. Well, we'll have to see, won't we? But should be fun. So the place I got to last time was I had enemies which chased the player around the scene, which is good. And I think I kind of want to build that up a bit. So one of the things that I'm very much aware of at the moment is the exploration screen is extremely boring. Okay, so looking at the game as what I have right now, so this exploration bit, like, it's okay. It could do with improvement, I think, but for now, obviously this whole bit could do with improvement. I think I'll likely want to focus on the exploration screen a bit more. So what I would say is try and improve. Yeah, improvements to button skins. You know, I mean the current skin is okay, but it's a debug skin, isn't it? So yeah, that can be improved. So as I mentioned before, I wanted to have a sort of animation when the player actually goes and collects something, and that's something I'm going to try and do. It has to be fun. So what I would consider in this case is that the objects kind of come from the map itself. So what I'd expect is that these bits gradually appear, but then you get like, oh look, there's a little glint to show that you found something here, and then it'll kind of go whoop, and into the collectibles tray down the bottom. So things like, you know, if you found a pouch of gold, you'd just be able to tap it and it would do a little. How I envisage it is you get a load of coins would spring out and then suddenly go towards where the money counter is. Because really I think this game is about all the sort of endorphin hit of you know, animations and small rewards for finding stuff. So looking at this, I could potentially set myself the goal to get this done at the end of the week, because I really want to try and hammer this as much as I possibly can. It's actually Tuesday today, and I originally envisaged that I would start doing this on Monday, but I ended up having to use Monday to finish the last video log. I used all of today to essentially clean up, make food, and actually get this set up to work. Morning. It's Wednesday today, so it's halfway through the week and I haven't actually written any code. Apologies for any bad audio as well, I've got some Rice Krispies. One thing I did take out yesterday was improvements to button skins. The difficulty is I kind of have to come at the design from more of a centralised place, so I would need to say mock up things in GIMP or something like that. It's not so feasible at the moment, I don't think, especially doing it in a week. And a lot of these things I think are going to be more than enough to get me going for the first week, so I would generally just say ignore that. So that one's fine. But other than that, money animations, I certainly want to do that, and I think that's going to be what I do today. Okay, so I think my plan for this is the following. I have my screen here, and what I want is I want to have a load of coins come out and sort of fill the screen, but then they kind of sit there for a little while, and then they all bunch together and head towards, you know, some sort of destination, which would be something like the money counter. So say, for instance, this is my button. They then get a load of coins appear on the screen, and it would sort of be random, and then they would all sort of animate in this general direction towards some sort of central bit. So the way that it currently works is that I have the screen manager. What it seems to me is that I need another window which kind of fits like this and fits over top of everything else, which is just a render window, but it's completely transparent. And then I have some sort of effect system which is able to render a scene like this. You know, I think in another scenario I could potentially consider having another render window at the bottom. Okay, well, this is as far as I've got at the moment. So running the game, I've got a button in my test screen, and if you click trigger coin effect, you get this effect screen. So it's essentially just a single text, but really what I've done is it's created a whole window underneath. You can probably see this more easily if I get rid of this, because it will sort of show you what's actually visible on the screen. I've now got the ability to, when you press this trigger coin effect button, it essentially just sticks a goblin mesh in the background. That's really just there to test. I've only got the background one at the moment, but I'll do the foreground one later on. It does have this background here, which I'm interested to see how I'm going to get rid of that. It definitely should be possible. Got some bolognese. What do you think of that? It looks nice, doesn't it? I'm just trying to properly layer the two windows on top of each other. I'll show you what I have at the moment. So it's not actually working as I expected it to. There's actually an alpha channel which you can set to 0, but when I put it over the top, It's completely red. Yeah, apologies. It turns out I was being a moron. Ogre has always used blend blocks to blend different data blocks together. So, in fact, I didn't have to change anything in terms of unlit. And you can see actually if I was to go in here and change the compositor to be red again, then you see it looks all weird because what it's doing is this red screen is over the top and it's blending everything below. So it runs and I trigger the coin and you can see how it kind of blends the two together. So that's brilliant. That's just what I wanted. Actually, is it over the top? So what's interesting about this is it doesn't look correct. I mean, the button is obviously over the top of the render window. Now, there are a few potential reasons for this, but the main one that sticks out to me is the depth buffer. I'm trying to make head and tail of what's actually going on here. And you can see this is what's going on in the depth buffer. When I go to draw my ogre on top of it, you can see it takes the full screen, which is what I expect because I'm technically drawing a whole rectangle over the whole thing. But I expect that it should be drawn over the top of this, so I'm wondering if the depth buffer has anything to do with it. And what I also find interesting is that the text doesn't seem to be writing anything to depth. For now, I'm less suspect of the depth buffer actually because I've made the label bigger. You can see it doesn't actually draw anything to the depth buffer. And when I actually go to render the thing, it still is on the top when it should be, the goblin should be above. Yeah, really that's telling me it's something else. Right, okay. Hey, it worked! Fantastic. Okay. It's probably just a case of me not understanding how the parameters actually work then. Yeah, okay, well that's cool. Great.
Yes, it works.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. So, here's what I have at the moment. When you press trigger, you get two meshes. One is rendered on top of the buttons, and the other is rendered below. So, there's foreground and background. It works. And this is all done within the effect itself. So the effect just essentially will generate a scene. So I'd have a load of coins or whatever, and they do whatever they need to do. And depending on whether I want to have them like below the buttons or above the buttons or anything like that, you know, I can do either. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. Okay, well here's my coin. It looks awful, doesn't it? So the issue I have is that this is the color palette I'm using, and if you saw my previous video, you'll know that I've sort of constrained this to a texture, so I can only use these colors. The issue with that is that it turns out there's not very many colors for things coin colored. It's really only just this yellow, so it looks like an atrocity at the moment. The thing is, I'm aware it looks awful, but at the same time, I'd like to get something in the game. I will have to have a rethink about this later because, in truth, it's not enough, frankly. Okay, so progress is being made. The coins are in the game. Here they are. So yeah, a few things to point out. I have switched to the orthographic camera, which is there's no projection essentially. I feel like that will probably be the best option for this specific need. So yeah, there's that. And really what I've just done is I've created a load of coins in a loop and have just sort of spread them out with quaternions to give a bit of variation. So a problem I have immediately is that they kind of collide with each other and they shouldn't be doing that. And I think if I was to stick a 5 at the end of this and run it again, then they should appear on top. Yes, they do. See, that looks really nice. I like how that looks. Yeah, it's really good. Because my idea is I wanted to make it very obvious that the player's just found a load of coins. So I think that looks really good. I'm really pleased with that. So what I'm thinking is, here's your screen. So I'm going to use a grid system. So what I want to make sure is that the coins are evenly spaced out on the screen. So what I'm thinking is I would have the screen, but then I'd have some sort of grid system like this. But I'm going to represent this with something like an array, generate 20 coins, and I need to put a coin in one of the spaces. So I would kind of go through the loop. So say these top 3 have coins in them. I would say, okay, well, don't put those in there, instead put it in here. So that's kind of how I'm going to evenly space it out. But I think I'm going to add some randomness to it as well, so it'll just basically generate a random number, so it might say like the middle one. Say it already had a coin in it and you want to put another one in, well then you just generate another random number until you get another one. If it reaches a scenario where every single cell is already full, then it will just essentially just go again. So it'll say put another coin in the cell. And each cell has a certain size. And what I'll be doing is I'll just generate a random kind of XY value specific to this cell. So, you know, the coin itself could end up like up in the corner here. but what there will not be is all the coins bunched together down at the bottom here or anything like that. I've got a fairly decent system, I think, so far. So here's what it looks like. So this is 20 coins. You can see they're kind of nicely spaced out. Of course, in some cases there's more collision, but the benefit is you always get a very similar assortment of coins across the screen. So it's very unlikely that you'll get some bunched up in the corner or something like that, which is one of the main things I did this for. Of course, I can knock down the number of coins I actually have here. Let's see what that looks like. Yes, it's okay. I think obviously there's going to be some off in the side. I don't mind so much if it's like this, but how many have I got? I can't really count 10, so I think I might have to have a play with some of the actual values. Alright, ready? Hey, look at that. Hey. Looks pretty cool. So yeah, I think it's partly there. I mean, well, so the expanding, it works as I expected it to. Obviously, it only comes from the center of the screen at the moment. The other thing is it's just a linear animation, so it's very bland. But yeah, so I'm quite pleased with how it's looking. I just need to speed it up, and yes, and then that'll be. But I think I'm probably done for today because I've got to go to the gym. It's like 6 o'clock. I was meant to have gone at 5. I thought I'd start the day off. I've bought a new tripod, so I'm going to unbox that on camera. I actually bought 2. The thing is, the one that's currently there is used for my just regular other stuff, which means that it's kind of annoying because it's not really built for that. I had to cram it into this tiny space behind the desk. So, not really much of an unboxing if there's nothing to actually cut open or anything like that. How do we open it? Oh, okay, there we go. There we go, isn't that lovely? I've also got one of these, like, that type of things. They're not even that expensive, to be honest, so I was kind of surprised at how cheap it was. Their company names are just so strange. I mean, look at this. It's Panitri. I mean, what does that mean? Oh, it means passion, non-scared, infinite, try, repeatedly, insist. Well, I'm very impressed if that's all the sort of words they jam in there, because those are the kind of words I would expect from a professional brand. It feels a lot like a Chinese company's trying to come up with cool sounding English words. But I can do that as well. Dissectomy, colonic infarction, consumerism. Yeah, I keep getting given these like remote activation thingies. Like I got one with each. I don't need that. Do you know what's ironic as well? They're from different companies and they're the exact same flipping thing. Look, they're literally identical. Just another bit of plastic to go to landfill. The idea of this one is that you've got these kind of bendable legs. Yeah, see, like this sort of thing. See, how am I going to take pictures of deers without this? It's going to be life-changing. In other news, the other day I was walking down the canal and there was this swan that was standing in the middle of the canal because it had frozen over and it was just sleeping. And it was standing while sleeping. I don't see anything like it. I'm sure that that's like widely known news that swans will go to sleep standing up if they have to, but yeah, I was not aware. Right, well there you go. So that's enough of that, I think. Let's do some actual development. Other tripod is now reclaimed. Got my new one in place. And now, finally, at the dark hour of 11:35, I will begin to do some development. So I think for this morning before lunch, I'm going to try and finish off the rest of the animation, which involves making them move outwards, making the outwards animation actually look good, so do it on a curve, and then get them to do the bit where they go somewhere else at the end. So you press, they expand, and then they sort of come back to the middle again. So I'm using some curves I got from this website here. This is a really great website, by the way. You can essentially just pick one of the curves. So I think this is one I'm using on the way out. So I use it on the way out, and then on the kind of middle bit, I essentially just do nothing and sit around for 20 frames. I use another effect that I got from that website to do the merge back in the beginning. So it's meant to be kind of like slow and then fast. Regardless, I think the bit I want to do next is actually have designated positions, because I want to see it go off to a certain area rather than just expand in and out. One of the main things I've got is I've now got actual positions. So let me just show you. So you create some coins. So what you're able to do is you're able to pass in start and end, and that will just get figured out as part of this this sort of logic here about where the coins actually begin and end. So you might be able to see that when I trigger them, they kind of appear off here and then come back to the middle. So I can edit this, maybe if I did 10 and maybe end, what would end be? -2. So when I create them, they appear there and then they disappear off to the side. So yeah, what I would be able to do later on is I'd be able to trigger up to like, say, the middle of this button. So they generate there, and then say my counter was down here, they go like that. And you can see they actually destroy themselves now as well. It's quite an abrupt end, I'll admit. They just kind of disappear, don't they? So I think I'll have to do something about that. My intention is to have a little counter at some point, which would be aware of what animation is actually going on. So it would be able to say, make itself flash, or I want to have one of those little numbers that appear down the bottom that tell you how many coins you got, and then it will kind of gradually tick down as the number at the top ticks up, and it's going to look really good. So I could maybe add 100, see what that looks like. Ooh, look at that. I've been playing around with trying to get them to shrink on the way in. So here's what this looks like. You can see how they kind of disintegrate a bit. They definitely shrink down. So I don't think it's the worst, but it's still not really how I like it, how I want it to look like. It might make more sense if I actually start on the money counter widget, so I can see the bit it actually heads towards. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, I think it's about playing with numbers and stuff like that. But anyway, I'm going to stop for lunch now because I haven't eaten yet. I'm having tacos. Hooray. Here we are. Think of that. I'm so excited to eat it. The mince was half price because it was like a day off day or something. So hopefully I don't get ill, but we'll have to see, won't we? Hello. Yeah, it's about 3 hours later. I ended up eating the food and then decided I had to do the big pile of dishes that I produced. One thing led to another, and it's now about 5:30. So I'm going to try and get some development going for the rest of the day. So the thing about these animations is that in order to get them to work, currently what it is, maybe I'll be able to show you. Yeah, so currently it looks like this. So you have these items down here. Now you'd be interested to know that these are actually just buttons in this window. There's nothing special about them. So my hope is that I'll be able to have, say, players exploring this bit. The item comes out, does a little animation, and lands in the tray. Now, of course, the difficulty with that is that they are not in. If they're part of the tray, then they're going to be clipped out. So essentially, I'm going to have to come up with a slightly more creative method to this. So if I had to say of the thing that I think won't get done, I would probably say it'll be icons for collectibles. I'm still in two minds about what to do about that because I either do 3D rendered models that ultimately end up looking like textures, or I just do pixel art. But I will need to decide that at some point, and I don't really want to rush it. So, but everything else, like improved mechanism for collecting items, essentially just means testing gesture support on mobile. So again, I won't be able to do proper gesture support without the support for this separate window idea. So it seems to me like that's going to become more important as time goes on. So I think I'll do that first, and then I'll hopefully have an interesting system ready to go by end-ish of week, and then I will hopefully be able to fully integrate the money animation we made into the finished product. So I think that's kind of the idea for the rest of this week, is I want to just have an end-to-end of the things that were integrated in place. So the items start appearing. So you can see I've got one animated button, and the rest are just kind of stationary. So the important thing to note here is that as the button spins, you can see its corners are leaving the window, which is great because that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to make sure that when I actually came to animate things, I wasn't necessarily constrained to the confines of the window, because I do want to make some quite dramatic stuff. So in order to get this, I've essentially had to rewrite most of the exploration items container. So essentially what I'm doing is the window, it's actually made to be hidden and not clickable. Instead, I've replaced it with this panel. So what you're seeing here, everything is actually owned by the parent window. It's not its own child window like it was before. But it looks the same because what I've done is I've created these sizer panels and stuck them in the sizer itself. So when the thing actually goes to resize stuff, which is down here, it will go through and essentially, so this is the background panel, it just pretends to look like a window, and it'll just stick itself there. And then the buttons, which are created again by the parent window, are created here, and they're just given the position and size of the size of buttons underneath. So this is the point of the sizer buttons. I call them sizer buttons, but they're panels, but they're essentially just there to piggyback on the back of the layout system, which is great because that means I shouldn't have to manually do any of the sizer stuff, even though the buttons aren't actually contained by the parent window. So it's quite a good system, I think. I'm quite pleased with how it's turned out. I'm kind of having trouble focusing though. I think it's probably a bit too late. I'll try and get an early night tonight. Morning. So it's Friday today. Development has been going okay so far. I think I've got quite a few good things done, so I'm quite pleased with that. And really I'm just going to try and get as much done as I can today. So I would like to show you some work I did last night, just on top of what I did before. I kind of did this off camera. So you might notice that there's a label placed where the appearing object is. So what I tried to investigate yesterday was a method of how to actually figure out where the center of a point in the rendered scene is relative to the coordinates of the GUI. So the point of this is that, I've been talking about how I want to have this animation where the thing sort of comes out and lands in the tray. In order to do this, I'm going to need to know where the point is in world space. Oh, and there's a bug as well. When you go to the combat screen, I don't know what it is, but it seems to be that it constantly jumps back and forth between the two windows. Anyway, ignore that. Sorry, I shouldn't cough like that. I thought it might have been warm enough today that I wouldn't have had to wear my special jumper, but it's way too cold for that. See, this is how you save on your heating bill. This thing cost me like £6 on the middle aisle at Aldi back in 2018 or something like that, and it's paid its dues. I'm very pleased with it. So when we receive items, they animate down. So currently they're originating from 0, 0, and they're just going to come down here and appear. And I've also added a sort of idle animation, so you can see they're sort of pulsing a bit, which they didn't do before. I think that was quite nice. I really had to sort of hack it in a bit, but no, it seems fine. I mean, the thing is that, so what I've done is I've separated the animator class. Previously actually dealt with the animations like this, but nowadays all it really does is host these active animations. The idea is that I might have a few different animations, so say you find a rare item, I want to have it so it will, be big and flashy, but a regular item is just, it comes down and appears. So one problem I do have with it is that you might see when an item appears, it actually goes below the screen. Now it's not meant to do that. I'm beginning to wonder if there's something in Cjbeards so I'm wondering if maybe windows always take precedent over buttons, because I've definitely put the Z order for these buttons higher than it is for the window in the background. So yeah, it shouldn't be doing that. But I can work around it. I think I can work around it in the same sort of manner that I did with this bit down the bottom here. That would be perfectly doable. And then if ultimately all the objects are owned by the parent window, then it really doesn't matter, I don't think. What I need to do next is actually hook it up with this, depending on where it came from in the expiration and so on. But this whole interface is a bit buggy, you might be able to see, so that's also on my list of things that I need to fix. And it just crashed again. Anyway, I think it's time for lunch now, so see you in a bit. Second taco batch. I put on way too much lettuce because I needed to finish the head of lettuce. It was going a bit kind of crusty, but yeah, delicious. Right, I just want to show you what it looks like on mobile at the moment. You can see I've actually got a phone in front of me. Firstly, I fixed the issues with things not going over the top of the window. The solution to that was essentially you just have to not make it a window, so it's a panel instead. And that also means the text appears over the window correctly. Secondly, I've got a bit of animation for the icons. So yeah, there we go, there's one. So I think it's fine. It's probably not how I expect the animation is going to run long time, but I guess I'll fix that as I go. The thing with tweaking animations is you can do that all at the end, and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's nice having a bit of animation. The thing is that the text is constantly cut off. You can sort of see from this one. Unfortunately so you see how that one sort of jumps back and forth. So that's not really what I would like it to look like. But also I'm not sure how much I can do about that if I'm using text. But yes, I think the next step is going to be try and get this point, get rid of this hello, get this point to make it be the origin. Currently the origin is hard-coded as the top left, but that's fine, but I've added the ability to make it from wherever on the screen, so I'm going to do that next. So I think you can sort of see as the tiles are appearing, the objects come specifically from the tiles themselves. So actually, I do quite like the way that it animates out. I think it looks quite good. It kind of gives that feedback that I really wanted to give of, thing actually found. And in future, what I'm hoping to do is, you might be able to see that these kind of block things here, they're actually meant to be trees. They don't look very good, but what I'm expecting is I'll just have the flat terrain, but I'll gradually, say you find a town, well, I'll be able to put a little house icon there, like a Monopoly house. And I think that should help kind of sell the assumption that something actually appeared in front of the player. I mean, it's coming to life. I think it's quite good because it was previously just really boring. This is the thing, is that this sort of game, it needs to be entertaining moment to moment. I've improved the animation, I think, quite significantly by adding a scale to it. So you can kind of see how they just sort of pop out now. So, yep. Now I think they look way better. I've also fixed, there was a few kind of offset issues with it, but it's all just maths, so that's fixed. Now I think it looks really nice. I would like to, so I want to have some sort of item that is money, essentially, so it'd be like money pouch or something like that. And when you go to collect this, just clicking on it, you'll get the coin effect, and then you get the money added to your wallet. So that will be the kind of full end-to-end of what we've been doing this week. I think from that point I'll start to think about doing the improvements to the icons, because it's, again, text. I'm probably going to dump that. I think improve the animations during expiration, that's done. So collecting money. Improvements, so make items gradually move out, that's done. So it's items for collectibles. This, we might be able to fit it in, maybe. Of course, some of the legwork has already been done in the fact that the icons can animate out of the panel. You saw that previously. So I needed that in order to get this to work. So this might not be too bad, actually. And animations, that's already done. That's essentially what we just did then. So yeah, no, I think it's been quite good. Morning. Well, it's Sunday today. Yeah, I essentially spent all of Saturday editing the video and thumbnails and whatever. I didn't actually do any development. I realised that I probably had to have done that earlier, but didn't actually do that. Regardless, I'm going to try and get this complete end-to-end done today, because I need that to be there. That's what we said would happen this week. Okay, my food's in the oven, so I'm going to make this brief. So I essentially had to completely rewrite the item system. Well, not completely, but what I've had to introduce now is that I've got mutable item values as well as just a regular item definition. So the idea here is that the item def is static, it won't change at all, and I define them here. And this is previously all I had. So it's things like, name, description, and this, which is the scrap value, what you get from scrapping the item. Now, what I decided was that I would want to do things like have a bag of coins item, but the scrap value wasn't really good enough, because what I might want is that I might want to be able to properly specify, this is how many coins you're going to get from this item. I want to have variation. And in future as well, I'm going to want to have things like, certain items might have status effects, they might be cursed or they might be buffed or something like that. So that doesn't really cut it for this, because something like a steel sword, if you want to buff it, you would still have this basic data, but in the def, it just didn't have enough information for that. So that's what this is. This is intended to kind of wrap around. So this just it finds a def based on the item ID, which is this enum up here, and then it really is just going to store this data, and this is mutable data. So I could pass, say, custom money value you get from claiming the item, or some other generic information. So yeah, it's a better system, I think. So this has allowed me to properly implement some of these items. So what I've got so far is I've got the button triggered up, so you can see it arrives. It's programmed to always give me a bag of coins. When I click it, I get the effect. So that's quite nice. But there's still issues. The first issue being that it doesn't originate from the position of the button. The second issue being that the button doesn't actually destroy itself properly. It technically doesn't exist, and then you wait for some other item to fill the slot. But see, the next item I'm going to get is going to come down here. See, like that. So the reason for that is that it used to be that I went to the item info screen, and then when you scrapped, you go straight back here, and then this window will get recreated. So I can't actually do that, which of course meant that I need to redo some of this code. But you can see the effect. I think it looks fantastic. I really like it. It makes it nice and obvious. But the issue is that, of course, it's not originating from the correct place, and it's also not. Oh, that's interesting. It's not originating from the correct place, and it's also not going over to the money counter like I expected it to. So you can see that the value's going up. So that's what I want to do. So the issue I have is that what I've got here is an ogre scene. The coins themselves from an ogre scene. So when they originate from 0, 0 in the middle, that's 0 in the ogre screen. But in GUI land, the origin is actually up here. So I essentially have to find a way to convert between the two coordinate systems, which I think is going to be quite hard, unfortunately. I'm not really sure how to go about that. Right, so let me just show you through some of the pain that I've been suffering. So it's last thing on Sunday. I want to be done clean end of this week, so I can start clean next week. Remember, I didn't do Monday this week. So I want to have the video out by end of today, essentially. I need to go to the gym soon. So I've been scrambling to try and get this picking in the window working. So I can tap a bit on the screen and the coins can come out. Now I need to convert that into the position in the 3D scene, and that's way harder than I thought it would be, it turns out. So yeah, annoying. What I have found, well, basically I'm recording because I think I might have got it working. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just casting rays. I'm casting a ray into the scene, and I've hacked a function in which currently at the moment just tests a plane, which is just a static plane at 0, 0. So what I'm trying to do is everything I do is relative to 0. So I just cast a ray from the camera, and I expect it to be in the coordinates of sort of 0 in the middle of the screen, going to 1, -1, so on and so forth. And as a moment ago, it seems like it might have worked. If I hover here, you can kind of see that these numbers down the bottom, they sit around 0. So when I move in this direction, you can see the number on the X is -17, and it kind of goes towards +17 as well. And the same on the Y, so, or similar at least. It's a similar pattern. So I'm very pleased with that, and I think that might be it. So fingers crossed, it might work in the 11th hour, we'll have to see. And maybe then I'll be able to go to the gym. Oh, I'm so close. I'm so close, but it's still not working. So let's go one that actually works. You can just about see the coins appearing. So it seems like certain bits of the x-axis might be fine. Oh, and this blinking's doing my head in. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay, well it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but I have to play with numbers. See, it's definitely closer, but it's close to the origin as well. Yeah, see, that's not. I don't know. Oh. Oh. Actually, I think that's working. Look, I mean, that actually genuinely feels like it's working. Oh, it looks so good! Yeah, no, it looks good. It just, it needs to head off to the corner there. Right, okay, end of week. Let me show you how it works. You click. It crashed. Alright, coins, click. Coins come out, coins go in the money counter. Oh, it looks amazing. I'm very happy with it. Okay, so I think my number system for the end is wrong, but I'm going to have to call it there for the week. I've been banging away at this for a long, long time, and I need to get this video out because it's Sunday evening, and that's equals end of week. So, but yeah, no, very, very productive. I'm quite pleased with it. This is the first kind of video in this format, so I do want to keep it on schedule. I do want to keep stuff developed in the week. Obviously, didn't get everything done on the list. Oh well, it happens. But I'm pleased with what we did get. I will say though, this screen flashing is driving me nuts. Wasn't doing it as much back then, but yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm probably gonna have to spend a week at some point actually stabilizing the thing, because there's crashing bugs every now and again. I'm confident they can be fixed. They just won't be as interesting as animating flashing coins, but no, I think it looks great. I'm really happy with that, and I think it will add a lot to the finished product because obviously this is really just the beginning of what I plan to do for effects. So yeah, I'm pleased with it. Pleased with it. So thank you for watching. I will be posting these videos every week. This is the plan. This is going to be my lifestyle now for the next little while. I'm just going to record the work I do, because I was going to do this work anyway, so it makes sense if I just record it. I'm considering maybe I'll do it in a format where I'll have Sunday off, you know, and have the video edited ready to go for Saturday, and then that would let me have Sunday off, because I probably do need some time off. But yeah, no, I'm happy with what we've done. Progress is going, and I'm pleased about that. And subscribe for more content.